And I've messed up already. Hey, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it is finally episode 13 of TNT, the Thursday Night Throwdown. It's been a while, other than the kind of Maloney drunken mess that we did WrestleMania show 1. But it was good times. I had a bit of a sore tooth, so to speak, and got through it with a little bit of the alcohol, Jericho style, and anyways, that was the last time I talked to you guys. And then all of a sudden, WrestleMania Part 2 was supposed to take place. I ended up falling asleep. So that was the end of that. But yeah, we are officially back. It is, what is the date today? It's April the 9th. It's been almost a month, eh?
Yeah, it's been a crazy month.
So for those of you guys tuning in for the very first time, my name is Chris Maloney, London, Ontario, Canada. I've got Sean Bates of the Scumbags of Wrestling beside me as always. Sean, how's things been going the past couple of weeks for you?
Not too bad. Once again, still just doing my 9 to 5 at the house that I support people with disabilities at. And just coming home, going out once, doing what is being asked, staying home as much as possible.
Yeah, so it's definitely a trying time here. I'm a little bit better than my wife right now because of the fact is I still get to go to work. Very limited what we can do at work, but my wife is she's a teacher, and she's been off since March break and then continuously. And with her, it's kind of like she gets to hang out with a toddler all day. So you can imagine the stuff that she's going through, almost like quarantine for herself. And then all the news that's been going on, everything else. So it has been different. It's a different time to be living. I mean, the fact is you don't want to look at the news every single day, but you do. Myself listen to podcasts and everything else to try to, keep motivated, go through YouTube, whatever the case may be. But fact is, you try to keep busy as much as you possibly can. You go to turn on sports right now, you can't. Sean, what have you been up to as far as trying to keep busy outside of work?
There's still some TV shows on that I watch, like The Rookie and Survivor. Obviously, the WWE Network and stuff going on with that. Of course, Joe Exotic and the Tiger King. Wife and I binged that all in one day, and minds are blown by the.
Hold on, you binged that all in one day?
All in one day, 7 episodes.
Jesus.
It was off on a Saturday.
Well, 7 episodes. Well, that actually doesn't sound too bad. 7 episodes.
It's not that bad. But yeah, so we did that, and just generally keeping busy, trying to come up with podcast ideas and whatever. My 2 shows are on hiatus at the moment as well, except for the podcast. So it is what it is, and we got through WrestleMania.
Yeah, it is. I tell you this. So as the guy who's setting up TNT every week, when we are here anyways, and I'm not sick. The fact is, it is harder to try to find content nowadays, but we will go through right now, and we're, we talked about it a little bit on Saturday, but the fact is WrestleMania took place, this past weekend. What I'll do is just go through the results just quick. And then Sean, maybe I'll get your thoughts on anything kind of stood out and then highlight it for you. And then I'll get my thoughts as well. Cesaro, Drew Gulak was the kickoff match for WrestleMania Part 1. Like I said, I won't go into too much detail because it's been almost a week. But Cesaro was over, beat Drew Gulak in that one. Bliss and Nikki Cross became new tag team champions. Elias defeats King Corbin. Becky Lynch retained the title against Shayna. Intercontinental champion Sami Zayn retained as well. SmackDown Tag Team Champion John Morrison went singles in this one, defeated Kofi Kingston, Jimmy Uso in a triple threat ladder match. Kevin Owens defeated Seth Rollins in a no DQ match, which was kind of paused because it was a regular match, and then all of a sudden they set up a new match, and Kevin Owens got to dive off of, I guess was it a pirate ship that a mini one there?
No, it was the WrestleMania sign.
Oh, yeah, the WrestleMania sign. Strowman defeated Goldberg in a squash match, pretty much, new Universal Champion. Undertaker defeated AJ Styles, Boneyard match. So night 1, and we touched base last Saturday, but Sean, more thought on WrestleMania, the first part of it. What did you think?
A couple of useless matches. I would have liked to have seen a little more action technical-wise with the Daniel Bryan Sami Zayn match, but I get it because Sami is now a chicken shit heel manager type role, so he played that up instead of being the technical wrestler. The Boneyard match, amazing. And unfortunately, both world title matches, or world and universal title match for the next night, were almost carbon copy of each other. So some highs and lows. Probably the best match from the Performance Center that weekend or that night was Owens and Rollins.
No, what are your thoughts on the Graveyard match? Now that it's been almost a week later.
I loved it. Like,
Yeah.
I expected something like that to be done. They had mentioned that they weren't going to be all in the Performance Center, and Vince McMahon said in Beyond the Mat that he makes movies. Well, finally, he did make a movie, and if that is what extends Undertaker's career, creates a little bit more legacy, I guess, in a way, because it has been tarnished a bit since at least the streak ended with Brock, and definitely since his loss to Roman. This might be something that sparks him. I know I saw a tweet, or even, sorry, it was actual video of Mick Foley saying, "Hey, Vince, can I be in the next Boneyard match?" And a lot of people have been wondering if this is the opportunity to do Undertaker Sting, where none of them look bad, and they finally get that dream match. So if it's going to help, I'm all for it. And in this time, we have to come up with different ways of presenting.
Yeah, it'll be. I didn't hear about that Sting thing, but that'd definitely be interesting. Boneyard match definitely took it for me there. It was well produced. I didn't expect too much of it, and all of a sudden, by the end of it, I was like, "Holy crap! That was pretty good." And
Jeremy Borash was a part of that one, from what I understand, and that one might have been one of the recordings that took almost till 5 a.m.
Yeah, I believe it. Poor Taker's not getting any younger. So we go night 2, WrestleMania. Liv Morgan defeats Natalya, kickoff match. Charlotte Flair defeats Rhea Ripley to become new NXT Women's Champion. That surprised me. Aleister Black defeats Bobby Lashley. Otis defeats Dolph Ziggler. Edge defeats Randy Orton. That I actually, and no offense to that match, but at that point I had fallen asleep already. So I got to go back and watch it. And I know it's about 36 minutes long from what I was told. Street Profits retain against Angel Garza and Austin Theory. Cool thing about this, Bianca Belair seemed to get the call-ups, so she was part of that match. SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley retained. Fiend Bray Wyatt defeats John Cena. Firefly Funhouse match. McIntyre defeats Brock Lesnar. Pretty much squash match. And that is it for that. So here's my thoughts on the two kind of gimmick matches. The fact is, you had one that was great, one that completely just sucked ass. Share the same thoughts, or I mean, did you actually like the Firefly Funhouse match?
I'm in the middle, to be honest. I see where it went with everything. It was kind of interesting doing a John Cena "This Is Your Life." The only thing missing was the Nexus showing up to say, "Hey, you squashed us and made us look bad for the sake of yourself." The NWO Hogan type thing was almost like a comparison with Cena and Hogan, and also that he never turned heel, unlike Hogan, what could have been. So there's a lot of juxtaposition going on with that whole thing. I was a little underwhelmed to the extent where I thought it was going to be more of a actual fun house, and they go throughout the whole thing and a little more cinematic like the Boneyard match. But like I said, I'm in the middle where it was good, bad, but I get it. As far as the rest of the card goes, Charlotte and Rhea were probably the match of the Performance Center. Otis finally getting Mandy, the feel-good moment of the weekend. And I hate to say it, I had so high expectations for Edge and Orton, but it went way too long. And it's unfortunate that is now a sort of downfall in Edge's return, where people probably would have been happy about 20, 25 minutes most, but it just kept on going and being the same thing in just different spots of the Performance Center. And yeah,
like I said, I haven't seen the match yet, but that was one of the things I heard as well. Is the fact is the match went too long. So, anyways, we go from WrestleMania into some current news as of well, let me see, the past 24 hours at least. but this is what's come about. So, Sean, I want to get your thoughts, just as well, I guess a human being, but as a wrestling fan and a sports fan in general. But so 5 things I've got here, and New Japan Pro Wrestling canceling shows through May the 4th. WWE postpones UK SmackDown tour, cancels NXT UK tapings. WWE tapings are happening in Orlando as of right now. That should be happening, I believe, tomorrow. Impact TV tapings are happening in Nashville. I guess it's going to give them about 2 months of footage to be able to air. And then UFC, which as of last night was still to take place for 249. I read today it's officially been canceled. Everything UFC based has been further canceled as well. What are your thoughts on the whole COVID-19 thing as far as shows still trying to take place for these bigger companies? We got AEW, WWE, UFC. To me, as a fan, of course, I want to see it. As a human being, it pisses me off because the fact is, take a break, shut down WCW Eric Bischoff style that they were supposed to do back in 2001, whatever the case may be, to reset and just take a break and give these guys a break. You know what I mean? But like I said, as a fan, of course, I want to see wrestling, but I can wait. That's what the WWE Network's all about. That's what everything on YouTube's all about. You agree or disagree? Like, does it piss you off when you hear about things like UFC and WWE and AEW still trying to take place, and even Impact Wrestling at this point?
Honestly, no. I'm happy that they're still doing it. And if all accounts are true, they're doing it in a safe way that is probably even safer than any of the places that we work at. Like, I work in the healthcare field, and I don't have somebody with a doctor right there checking everything just to make sure that I can come in and actually do my job. Same thing with you over at your place of work. That isn't happening. These guys are doing what they can do. Yes, Vince has always had the no-die attitude, and that's carrying on with obviously now Impact and AEW. If it's providing entertainment and they're adults who can make their choice whether or not they're going to work, and as we saw with Roman Reigns, he was able to pull out of WrestleMania. There's no backlash going to be happening with him because it's health-wise. As long as it can happen, I'm okay with it. Though I will say the ridiculousness of the extent that Dana White was apparently going to, trying to go under every possible radar and go to native reserves and buy an island or whatever he was planning on doing, and not being part of the sanctioning process. That's a little bit different because it's a real sport. And I'm not knocking wrestling for what it is, because it is athletic. There's a lot of touching going on, but if they're doing it properly and still able to entertain me, great. And if they're able to do a whole bunch of shows at one time over a 4-day period, and then to be able to take 6 weeks off and be isolated, great.
So have you gotten used to the empty arena matches?
Yeah, like, obviously it's different, and I said before, I'm hearing constantly on other podcasts, oh, it's odd, it's different, it's out of the box, it's jarring. Eric Bischoff said that a bunch of times during WrestleMania review. If you can just get yourself out of that mindset and present it and appreciate it for what it is, it's good. Right? They're trying to tell stories, and the promos have been really good with WWE lately. It's just how it's presented. Sometimes it does run long. Yesterday, AEW.
Hold that thought, because I want to talk about AEW. I'll get your thoughts on this quickly. First, though, Angelina Love resigns with ROH. Are you surprised with the career or lack of career that she's had?
No, because she did start in the Ontario scene. She made her way to FCW and was there before leaving for Impact, and now been working with ROH. It's great.
Yeah, it's been interesting because the fact is, I guess it was last year at this point, but when I was we were at SummerSlam week, I took off from one of the shows to go see ROH down at the old Maple Leaf Gardens, and she was part of that. And actually, I had the luxury of sitting beside her cousin, I guess it was, who was might have been inebriated and throwing herself at guys like Roosh and everything else. But it was comical, you know. And it's like, okay, they're having a good time. They don't know probably too much about wrestling other than the fact that their cousin's wrestling. And then, sure enough, you know. I think it was they were setting up for one of the matches and Angelina comes out and all of a sudden they go and take off and they're talking to her for like 20, 25 minutes, whatever the case may be. But it's kind of a cool moment to be able to, you know, to sit with her family. One of the things though that I've never kind of understood, and this is somebody who, like you said, was Ontario independent wrestling scene. I've just never understood how, you know, she had success in Impact Wrestling, but why never say like an AEW or WWE with NXT? You know what I mean? And not to knock anybody, but they took somebody like Scarlett Bordeaux, who's still learning the ropes as far as wrestling goes. Why not go and take somebody like established, like Angelina Love, that you could turn into a trainer, you know? And the same thing, Madison Rayne. Why didn't she work out? That's, you know, questions I don't think I've ever seen answered.
Yeah, I'm surprised with Madison because she has appeared with WWE. I believe she was even part of the Mae Young Classic. But yeah, maybe it's just all about timing in a way. And, you know, Angelina Love ended up with an opportunity to leave FCW to be able to go to Impact. It was something that wasn't happening while she was at FCW. Had it changed to NXT before going to Impact, would have been a different situation, I think, with her.
Yeah, so you think probably just timing, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Other topics. I'll just quickly go through these two. Jake Roberts quarantined in Atlanta hotel room. I guess the backstory behind this one is the fact is AEW offered him money to show up to a show, and Jake was like, "I'm not missing this." DDP apparently said, "Hey, if you leave the house, you're not coming back," because he's got like a baby and everything else. And Jake, you know, went to the show, and next thing you know, he's quarantined in a hotel. I mean, how do you take that story? Here's a guy who put himself on TV to be part of the wrestling industry again, but next thing you know, he's stuck in a friggin' Atlanta hotel room, I guess, right now.
Well, I guess it's the best of a worst case scenario. Like if he got told by DDP not to leave, they could have found a way of getting the cameras there or cutting his promos that he's been doing, which have been great. But he could have Skyped them in or something without having to leave. But he left, and you know, you got to think of safety first.
Yeah. All right. Another topic. Jordan Devlin commenting on the interim NXT Cruiserweight title tournament. Surprised by this? Do you think it's a good idea as far as putting a championship belt on somebody in North America? And I mean, to me as a wrestling fan, it's I love Jordan Devlin because he's a good wrestler. We got to see him last summer as well. But the fact is, with them bringing the title back to North America, at least they can defend it there. And when this COVID-19 thing officially ends, you've got challengers set up, hopefully just in time for SummerSlam. You know what I mean? So, good idea, bad idea?
I like the idea. It keeps the belt relevant. It keeps people in that division relevant. And it's almost going back to Shawn Michaels being suspended and being stripped of the title. And you have Razor and Rick Martel fight to become the new Intercontinental Champion. Shawn comes back, says, "Hey, I'm still a champ." This sort of situation is going to happen with Jordan Devlin. Of course, this is officially because he's interim champion, the person they're going to crown, as opposed to Jordan being the actual champion. But sort of the same scenario. You're going to eventually have Jordan come back and go against whoever is holding the belt when it's that time.
Yeah, and to me, personally, one of the greatest Intercontinental champions, and one of the reasons I truly fell in love with wrestling was the Ultimate Warrior. He passed away 6 years ago yesterday. Do you remember where you were when you found out the news?
I think I was at work.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'd seen him just the other, like all weekend, got inducted into the Hall of Fame, was at the stage of WrestleMania, did that huge speech at Raw.
At Raw, yeah.
And sort of his words were interestingly chosen considering what happened the very next day on his way home. And almost so he prophesized his passing between that speech and his Hall of Fame speech.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a tie-in for me as a wrestling fan. Anyways, when I was a kid, I used to collect all the LJN figures. So I remember Ultimate Warrior didn't have a figure yet, so I took Paul Orndorff, painted up his face, put like little yarn things on his arms and stuff like that, and that was my Ultimate Warrior. You know what I mean? And then Warrior come out, and actually the Paul Orndorff was a better version than the Ultimate Warrior. But funny thing is about the LJN is on Facebook, I'm part of some of these groups, you know, the collectors, because I did start collecting again. And then all of a sudden, one guy had shown a picture, and it was like, I think 8 o'clock in the morning. Ultimate Warrior had been on the same flight with him, and the picture was taken by Ultimate Warrior's wife Dana. And the next thing you know, a couple hours later, the news breaks that he ends up massive heart attack and passes away. But he was, you know, when I heard his music, I was nuts as a kid. Even the other day, I was watching WrestleMania 8, where he came back, you know, to help out Hulk Hogan. And Sean, you're going to hate that because I know you're a Savage fan, and then Warrior ended Savage's career the year before. But
one of the best matches in WrestleMania.
Yeah. Long story short was even WrestleMania 7, like 6, I loved because he won the title. 7, I was like, holy shit, he could actually lose here. And I remember being a fan, being so friggin' nervous. And not, you know, when you're a fan back as a kid, you don't realize it's fake, scripted, whatever the case may be. You're thinking to yourself, holy crap, who am I going to follow? Who am I going to watch next? You know what I mean? So, but yeah, 6 years ago yesterday, Warrior ended up passing away. So sad. But if you get a chance, go on YouTube, because I mean, you're not doing anything else right now. So check out some of his footage. Check out some of you know, what he did at the very end. There was a short little clip, I think about 2 minutes in length, with him patching things up with Hulk Hogan, hugging Vince. I think it was the little engine that could book. I think I remember seeing that. You know, Vince and everything else, and then all of a sudden, his, like Sean had said, that you know, Monday Night Raw speech. So, anyways, sad day. 6 years ago, I was at work sitting there, but yeah, huge fan of the Ultimate Warrior, and you know, he went far too soon. But anyways, we're gonna transition into AEW, NXT. NXT actually won by 1,000 looks like fans as far as the ratings go. I'm going to try to get the guest online for tonight. Sean, you were talking earlier about AEW and the empty arena, everything else, and somehow, well, not somehow, but sometimes matches go on too long and stuff like that. But what did you see AEW last night?
Yeah, I ended up watching it last night. They were starting, obviously, the tournament. I probably would have watched NXT because they had a better, I guess, lineup or something to look forward to, since it was TakeOver just on that, but we don't get it in Canada. It was odd that Sean Spears lost in a figure 4 with a pin.
Yeah, and then
yeah, it was just kind of odd.
Shivani, I think, or Jericho had commented that it was like the first time they'd ever seen that happen. I think it was Jericho who actually commented on that. But so Cody advances in the tournament. Your thoughts on the Hikaru Shida versus Britt Baker match? Do you think that was a fake broken nose? Do you think that was real? Do you give Britt Baker credit? To me, I couldn't give enough of that match. It was two people going at it. Britt Baker seemingly broken nose. There was the turnbuckle shot where all of a sudden Hikaru had picked her up and they just dropped her on the friggin' buckle. That looked like it hurt like hell. And the next thing you know, broken nose, and the rest is history. But what are your thoughts on that match itself? I mean, were you a fan of it? The women getting better there in AEW? Because I know we've crapped on them on the show before.
Women's division is still very weak, but Shida is one of my favorites of the division. I'm surprised we're not seeing more from Allie. She would definitely strengthen the women's division if she was actually wrestling in it instead of just being eye candy with her husband and what's his name? Andy Williams.
The Butcher.
The Butcher. But, let her be part of it. There'd be something more to look forward to. Chris Statlander is somebody to look forward to, but it's still a weak division. Sheeta's a favorite of mine. I didn't mind that match at all. It was odd with the whole give me your glove that was on the referee's hand so she could do the mandible claw, but it is what it is. But it's Britt Baker, and she's hugely improved as a heel and what they're doing there.
Yeah, nobody. I mean, when she was complete babyface, nobody could expect her to be almost a better heel at this point than Adam Cole. But will be interesting where they go with the women's division, because I don't know if you know, but I think this coming summer, Tessa Blanchard's contract's up. I mean, do you think they're going to jump all over her as far as money goes?
Potentially, because she would definitely strengthen. what they have, but you never know what Vince and his pockets will want to do with her. But she probably will lean towards AEW with the freedom of creativity that's there, and her dad's hanging around.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's got on one side of things, she's got the lineage with the the four horsemen, so to speak, with Charlotte Flair and Ric Flair and everything else, and the whole Tully. But then at the other side of things, you think about it this way, and you also you had multiple fourth people as far as that fourth horseman goes all the time. Yeah, Ole Anderson, I think Sid Vicious at one point, Sting at one point, Lex Luger at one point, Barry Windham, obviously. I mean, it just went on and on and on.
Don't forget Paul Roma.
Let's forget Paul Roma. Anyways, but you always had not Ole, but Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Ric Flair. You know what I mean? But now when you look at AEW, they've got 2/3 of the equation over there. So I think Tessa could build up that division. I think they're going to throw a lot of money at her. I think it's going to become a bidding war. But it's whether or not what she sees, because she's still young. I think she's still early 20s, isn't she?
23, I think.
Yeah, so she a huge career in front of her, So this is it. Like whoever she signs with, this could be the rest of her career, or it could be just another Stop Jericho style, If you're listening to TNT for the first time, thank you very much. If you're watching for the first time, thank you very much. We are as good looking as we appear on camera. Most days, anyways. Anyways, get to some comments here. So John Siegfried said, "Hey guys, how's it going? We are better. We are live and on air, which is a good thing." Jones, Firefly Funhouse was like an acid trip. I tend to agree with that. I don't know. Yeah, here's something I had heard on another podcast. What happens if all of a sudden Bray Wyatt, John Cena were sitting there, and somehow, some way, Bray Wyatt does shots or does, hey, let's have a toast before we do this thing. And Bray Wyatt has drugged John Cena, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, then everything happens. They were saying that would have made it a lot more sense. But doing it the way they did it, to me, it was complete crap. It was like I said, there was a good match on that show. And, there was a good match the night before that show, and then that match completely sucked. But acid trip's probably the best way to put it. And then
I heard Bruce Pritchard had his hand in that one, along with Bray and Cena.
Yeah. Well, so we go from acid trip to Jones's next comment. Warrior's best match was Mania 7. Oh yeah. Yeah, that he's got the Macho Man reference in there, but the fact is Macho Man went to commentary after that and then went WCW, didn't he? Did he ever back? Oh no, he did come back because it was that
snake bite.
Was that was after that?
Yeah.
So that's
how he got back reinstated.
That whole big thing. Oh yeah. Now I remember. There was a WrestleMania he fought Crush, but it was the original Crush, right? So it's the second version of Crush. It wasn't the Pineapple Crusher. It was he signed on with Mr. Fuji and had the face paint going on. Yeah.
That was at 10.
Yeah. So now that was at 10?
That was at 10.
Huh. I gotta see. This is what I'll do: is start catching up on my WrestleMania history on YouTube or the network or whatever the case may be. So as we're waiting for our guests, Sean, let's talk about this. #scumbags100. What the hell's going on with that?
Well, this Sunday at 1 p.m., Scumbags Wrestling is having their 100th podcast episode. So surprisingly, I guess, in a way, we made it to 100 already after starting off with the Sharpshooter podcast, making it, I think, 12 episodes before breaking off into the Scumbags Wrestling podcast. And so, this Thursday, I'm seeing Thursday on the screen, this Sunday at 1 p.m., inviting people to join us for the podcast, looking at WrestleMania. Gordon had said about doing some rants. So whatever's on your mind, we can get rid of that. Jonesy is working on doing a trivia game for us. So we're going to do that. Some Q&As. So if people have questions, you can answer roundtable style and just see what all happens from there. If talent out there wants to be a part of it, hit me up and we'll create a spot for you. We have Chris is going to be part of it. I'm going to be obviously a part of it. And we have 4 more spaces available. I've already heard that Steven wants to be part, and yeah, we'll just go from there.
Yeah, so rumor has it that this show, once the completion of episode 13 happens, it's being taken over NWO style by the scumbags of wrestling, apparently.
Yeah, sure.
That is the rumor. So graphics, logos,
Yep.
hosts. Yeah, I'll be on the show, but I'm not going to be hosting. So it's
You just weren't running the board.
yeah, I'll be doing all this this graphical stuff and everything else. But yeah, it is interesting because the fact is it's with me anyways as a wrestling fan, I have a website, okay, and I wanted to go one step further. So I've tried throughout the years more or less to do podcasts and stuff like that. And then the timing was right when I had changed over from CWN to the Sharpshooter, just as something new to try. And the fact is, I invested in business cards and T-shirts and the websites and everything else went with it. And I was like, well, okay, well, it's the easiest thing to do. It's called the Sharpshooter Podcast. And anyways, long story short, I was like, what do you do? What do you say? Who do you talk to? And we've got Sean, who is part of it. And I think you're part pretty much every single episode, I think, for the most part. And then we had guys like Nathan and, Jonesy, obviously, and Jake. And it was great. And, it got me interested in indie wrestling again and had a great feel for it and this and that. So, but anyways, we talked about independent wrestling. Our guest has signed on. So I'm going to do the official formal introduction here. Let's get rid of some of these graphics though first, because we're not Scumbags 100 yet. There we go. All right. What's that?
That's Sunday.
That is Sunday. So, ladies and gentlemen, you name a promotion here in Ontario for the past 20 plus years. It's probably wrestled for them. Name a promotion around the world in the past 20 plus years. It's probably wrestled for them too. He's been part of the Cruiserweight Classic, been a proud member of Team Canada. He's had a coach when he was wrestling for Team Canada, and now he's currently becoming one of the greatest coaches himself with the Wrestling Factory. Some call him the godfather of Ontario independent wrestling. Well, most fans know him as the Wrestling Machine. TNT would like to welcome the one and only Tyson Dukes to the show. And I got to show this first. So we talk about TNT, which is a cool name for this show. This right here is Border City Wrestling, but Blood, Sweat, and Tears. You look on the back there is a tag team that's known as TNT. Sean, you're aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. So, Tyson, welcome to the show. How you been doing?
Hey, man. Well, how's it going, guys?
We're good. Do you remember that back then with the this TNT tag team back in the day?
Hells yeah. That's really a big part of my whole career was tagging with Tornado Textbook, which was me and Tornado, also known as TNT.
Now, were they exclusively for Blood, Sweat, and Tears, or were they wrestling elsewhere as well?
No, we wrestled everywhere in Canada, and we wrestled for WWE at dark shows and stuff like that, dark matches as TNT. We didn't have the name, but it was Mark Bartolucci and Tyson Dukes for their shows. Like never made it to Velocity or anything like that, but a lot of dark matches together.
No, I was a huge fan back in the day of Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Dave Blizzard, ring announcer for them. Tom Harbin, who's now currently over in England doing photography for astrology, I think. He was the music man back then. What's your fondest memories of Blood, Sweat, and Tears back in the day?
You know what? It was all good. It was all good. There's always going to be a little bit of drama with pro wrestling. Is like, you know how it just seems to one company surfaces then another one, and then they seem to want to compete, which is I find silly. But like back then, it was the same. It was UW company, like a lot of amazing talent on that show, and then it was BSE, which was Blood, Sweat, and Tears, because it was a band show and a wrestling show when it first started, and then they just scrapped the band thing because it never ever worked. It's either you're pulling band fans or you're pulling wrestling fans. And the two of them didn't seem to coexist, especially on shows. So people are there to listen or they're there to watch. It's just the way it was. But like a lot of great talent, a lot of kids that are no longer wrestling anymore. Like they had a lot of opportunities back then. Would have been great had you seen like Cypress or Cody 45. Those guys, I wish they had stayed with it. But injuries and real life gets in the way of that kind of stuff. Even Tornado stays in the north now. He only wrestles for his own promotion, Rock Solid Wrestling, out of like the Collingwood area. That's as far as they come down, Barrie, Collingwood, and it's basically up north, which is like, it's neat. I'm happy that he's happy doing what he's doing.
Yeah. So one of the big things you're just talking about, injuries and wrestling and stuff like that. Is it true that you debuted at 18 years old?
Yeah. Yeah. I just a crazy, stupid kid. Left home. I'm from New Brunswick originally. I just left home, came to Ontario, and started professional wrestling. There's not much else to go with that story. I just I felt as though my parents were in a kind of a rocky state. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just do what I want to do. I'm not going to be a cop. I'm going to be a professional wrestler. And that's what I did. That's what I strive to be from then that time forward.
All right. So training, when you came to Ontario, who was responsible for Tyson Dukes?
There's a lot of dudes that are responsible. I started at a place called Hart Brothers School of Wrestling out of Cambridge, Ontario. It's no longer around anymore. The guy that ran it was a crook that just wanted our money and just didn't train us. Luckily, fortunate for me, I was there during the time of Ron Davies. Ron Davies makes wrestling boots, or did make wrestling boots here in Ontario. Best wrestling boots, RD boots. Before that, he was a jobber. He used to wrestle in Maple Leaf Gardens and everything. And he taught me the basics. From there, Joe Legend took the ball, and he really put a real stamp of like real solid basics. From there, I went to Scott Demore, who even took those basics and fundamentals and really grounded them really solidly. And then my last guy is one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. Should be Hall of Fame. Doesn't get his due. More people should watch Terry Taylor. Terry Taylor, the Red Rooster, Tailor-Made Man, all those things. Dude is a brilliant mind and really put me on that next level of pro wrestling. It wasn't just about doing moves and falling. It was about when to fall, when to do a move, when to punch, when to fire up and stuff like that. And Terry is the king of it. And still to this day, there's nobody I hold in higher regard than Terry Taylor. He still teaches me, these 23 years later, still teaches me. Like every time I talk to him, I learn something new.
Wow. Now, I've been a fan of yours for quite a while now. I remember all kind of the different characters that you've had. How do you evolve over the past 20 years as far as your character goes? Because we've seen you on Velocity back in the days of TNA Wrestling when you're part of Team Canada, obviously, going through the Cruiserweight Classic, the different looks you've had, the different, I guess, not personalities, but just the fact that you've almost got an edge to you now that you never had back then. What makes that happen? Like, what do you think about, like, I guess, is it somebody who says something to you that says, hey, you know, you need to evolve this way to be part of this? Or is it just something that you think about on your own as far as your character development goes?
Basically, it's evolve or die. Basically, that's my mindset all the time, is if you're not willing to change and keep up with the times and evolve with the times a wee bit, like, you don't have to change who you are, or your moral compass, or your fundamentals of what you believe in. But if you can't seem to adjust to how things are, then you're just dead in the water. And that's the thing with me, is I've always been always searching to improve myself and make myself better, and really just tap into on the psychological side of people. So when I started, I was small. I was a really tiny guy coming out of wrestling school, because I basically starved to death going to wrestling school. And I lost all this weight. So my muscle mass, everything was so low that it didn't look right for me to be wrestling these giants in the 90s and actually doing anything. I wouldn't be able to do a moveset to them that would be realistic. And 90s were still kayfabe era. I come from, like, you believe that it's real, and if someone thinks it's fake, you punch them in the face. That was what I come from. So in those times when Hulk Hogan was knocking people out on live TV for real, like commentators and stuff like that, or you got, like, the old guys would just, like, beat the snot out of somebody, I had to adjust. So I did I was very charismatic. I used that little goofy dance, which is a rip-off the Looney Tunes. Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny used to do that side shuffle with the top hat on off the stage. basically that's what it was, is me butchering that stupid dance and just take it into a whole stupid level. And then it worked for me for a very long time until I got injured. And then after injury, both either mentally or however it was, I didn't believe it, so no one else really believed in me, so I had to switch it up. And then I just come full circle. I got bigger, I feel better, and I started to be more serious. And then it's just evolved from there. Either I'm just the wrestling guy, or now I'm just a little bit tougher. A lot of people think that I'm a legit tough guy, which is probably not the case. I'm probably just a normal dude. I take a pretty good punch. I don't want to hit anybody though, but people seem to think I'm a tough guy.
So you say that word tough. I've got to ask, and a lot of people are aware, Dark Side of the Ring season 2 taking place right now. How tough was it going through the whole persona character of the Chris Benoit story?
You know what? The way I was brought in, because I did the original season, I'm on the pilot as Dutch Mantel. So when they brought me on for the second season, they said that I was going to play Chris because they thought that'd be the perfect match, me as Chris Benoit. And so I didn't have to study. I always knew, like, Chris is my guy. When it came to pro wrestling, when I wanted to get into pro wrestling, I wanted to be Benoit. So we fast tracked to this little thing. And then Jason, the director, said, hey, we're going to keep this as tasteful as possible. I know this sounds silly, like quote unquote tasteful, when it comes to like a homicide, suicide, but they really did. Their objective was to tell the story, get the truth out of there that a lot of people were hush hush about, and reunite David and Sandra, like at the end of it, through Jericho. And it put a real horrific, terrible thing in a better light, both so people know what actually happened. We'll never know what really happened, but at least at the end there was a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, because that's a dark road, man. When you get down there, and like when you've murdered your family and taken your own life, that's a real dark place to come from.
So I think it also worked out well that they didn't just focus on what happened there. Like the first part was their friendship with Eddie and Chris, to sort of almost background what happened to make Chris maybe get to the point where, unfortunately, it did end.
Yeah, there is no excuse for horrific actions. I never. A lot of people think that I defend the actions of a guy that's like that has killed his family. I've never ever once defended his actions. Like, he's always one of my guys, one of my heroes as a professional wrestler, as a person in the business, as a professional doing it. That's what I love. That's what I wanted to emulate. The actions that happen are the actions of a broken man, either like through concussions, through whatever it may be that caused this huge tragedy, because it's more than just an argument and getting like that's it's on a whole different level. Because I met Chris. I used to work side by side from 02 to 04 when I got hurt. So I know who he was. And then when I went back to WWE a week before he killed himself and his family, totally different cat. He was not the same human being that he was the guy that I knew. So I don't know. Take it for what it's worth.
So in saying that, do you think we're ever going to get to see Daniel Benoit get an opportunity? Not Dan. Is it David? Is it David Benoit, the oldest son?
Yep.
David, do you think we're ever going to see him have a chance in pro wrestling?
No. You know what? I like David. Like, I don't say anything bad, and I never say never in any situation. But like, if David Benoit wanted to be a professional wrestler, he would be a professional wrestler. This stigma where he thinks that he's blacklisted from wrestling, I don't think that's the case. If you want to do this, and this is the route you want to take, nothing should stop you. Nothing should hold you back, even something that's so immense in tragedy and stuff like that. I just don't think is in him. I just those guys talk to him, they get to know him and stuff like that. He seems like an easygoing guy, but I don't think the drive that his father had, or like most wrestlers have, I don't think so. I don't think that the business or people hinder him. I think it's his own mindset that hinders him in this business. Respectfully saying, you know.
So you're saying about Chris Benoit being an influence for you. As far as influences wrestling for you personally, as a fan, early in your career and now, who are some of your most major influences that you've had for the past probably 20 years or so?
I talked about this. Someone said Mount Rushmore. Who's your Mount Rushmore? Who's your four? And I couldn't have a list of four. There's no way. I said, if you had that, you know, that Simpsons poster with Simpsons characters on it, that Rushmore, because I'm a studier of pro wrestling. I'll take it all the way back to its earlier days with the Frank Gotches and the Fezes and all that stuff, and I'll push forward, and I see stuff that is super talented out of guys like the Billy Jack Haynes, Hercules, or like Hercules Hernandez. All these guys are like different. They're super pros, and there's a reason why they still leave a mark with people today in this business. So I study all the Macho Man, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, like and I'm Japanese style, like that greater career, because that spans not only in North America, but now we're talking about a whole different across the ocean. But yeah, huge fan. All the early like and stuff is.
Yeah, my apologies, a slight delay, but the audio was just a little bit choppy there, so I was waiting to watch your mouth close. But anyways, let me see here. If somebody heard your name for the very first time, whether it be through Dark Side of the Ring, or they're watching old WWE Network stuff, if you had to recommend any of your best matches to them to say, hey, this is how I'm going to make you a fan, what would some of those matches be that you've had in your career?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff that I really, really enjoyed. I liked working with Sean Spears a lot, Johnny Gargano before he got called up, Tommaso, and I've worked with him. Tyler Hands on it, but it was ROH. Is another one that I loved. Eddie Edwards, I never see that one either. These ones are kind of like they don't let these go. They're all in the vault kind of deal. I got one with Elgin at ROH that I really enjoyed. My All Japan stuff, I loved. I worked with a bunch of guys that I loved. I wrestled Otani, which is a huge deal. He's a legend in Japan. I wrestled Masato Tanaka, who's one of my favorites. And it was one of those times where I missed my flight. I got a flight. I just got to Japan and went straight from the train to the venue and wrestled on jet lag and everything. And Tanaka is one of my absolute, like, the best, one of the best in the business. The list on, man, there's so many dudes, right? I've been at this 23 years. It never ends for me. It never ends. There's so many guys.
So we're talking about pro scene there. What's your current take on the Ontario independent wrestling scene as well as here in Canada?
You know what? I always kind of like, I don't want to sound like the old man, and it feels like it's gone like in a certain way. I don't want to feel is I don't know. I don't want to seem like I'm not bitter. I still do what I do, and I do. I just find that everything is very much it's very homogenized. Everybody does the same spots. They do the same kind of. Everybody does everything. It doesn't sell anything. thing. I wish that a bit. I wish, or at least people would do and then switch it today's style, so everybody can work. My style is better than their style is not better than mine. It's just I wish that there'd be a little bit more variety and less cosplay. I wish for less costumes to get themselves over, silly characters and all that stuff. And I like, hey, if the character gets you over and gets you money, like I do not, like, don't get me wrong, make your money, but like, how much is enough? You know, how many different kinds of odd characters does there have to be, or how many like weird face paint and mask ideas and capes and all this stuff? Like, let's get back to the brass tacks of how pro wrestling was. Let's do a little bit more of storytelling and more selling, basically.
It's a perfect segue right there, because the next question for you: why the Tyson Dukes Wrestling Factory? How long had you thought about it before the factory actually came to exist? And the follow-up question to that: Ethan Dukes, your boy, the progress to him as a wrestler, as well as your thoughts trying to train your own son to become a wrestler. And are you going, and are you with your kids that are part of this school? The advice that you just gave here, as far as the capes and the gimmicks and everything else, do you go old school mentality when you're teaching these guys for the first time?
So my school's in October has been open for 3 years. I've been open for 3 years, and I've tried to groom guys the way I want to groom. So it's more old school. They don't hit the ropes right away. They learn the basics. They can't move on to doing moves and all this stuff until the basics are mastered, and then we can move on from there. I feel as though unless your fundamentals are 1,000%, there's nowhere to go. So unless everything looks perfect, why am I moving on? Why am I trying to give you more? Because there's so much to this, and this business is full of stuff. So if you don't perfect the basics where we come from, why push it any further until you learn them? And yeah, it's been 3 years. I have to evolve also, because I can't wrestle forever. Even though I tell people I will die in that ring, I really can't. I can't go and I can't go and do what I do forever. I can't go at my pace when I'm 60 years old. So the wrestling school is, I've seen life from my friends that have retired. I've seen what has happened to them. And I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be outside of this business, because I don't want to be the outside guy always looking on the inside. So I've always made it my mission to always be a part of this business no matter what. So I'll just transition eventually to just coaching full time at my school, and growing the new crop. And I got a lot of great guys. And a couple of gals that are good. My son, and that's hard. It's because I baby him a lot. He's always been my little guy. So even though he's 6'2" and almost 300 pounds, he's still my little guy. I find it very, very hard to sometimes watch him, because he's a tough kid. He's tough and he gets it, and I'm tough on him, and he's tough on himself. And I really look forward to seeing how his career is going. So after this virus stuff is over and everything goes back to normal, you'll be seeing more Ethan doing more of Ethan's stuff, where Ethan is just going to go branch out, and I'm just going to let him do his own shows and go places and catch a ride with somebody else. You don't always have to be under my wing. I kind of want him to make his own career of it. Even with the Dukes thing, I was hesitant about him taking Dukes, because it feels though he needs to find himself, and I don't want him under my shadow. I want him to be himself. So when people ask me, hey, are you ever going to wrestle Ethan? Are you going to tag with Ethan? I always tell them no. I'm not doing any of that, because it's his career. I let him do his own thing and make his own way, the way I did. I didn't have anybody. My father was a farmer and a truck driver. So he's just going to do his own thing. He just picked the same career and same passion that I did. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can accomplish, because I know that he's great and I know that he can accomplish a lot because he's really smart at it. He's got a brilliant mind. And then I got a few other guys that I really think the world of, and I hope their careers just seem to explode in the next couple of years. I hope they really get out there. That's the problem, though, is they're so stuck on the leash, or they feel as though they have to stay close to me and like be on only the shows I'm on and stuff like that. And it's time to push them out of the nest. If you don't fly, you fall. You know what I mean? So get out and do your own thing and just be your own person, basically.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure of stopping by the factory and doing the recording stuff, and just seeing the evolution of your guys. It's been awesome. Like even Ethan, from first time I saw him, not even knowing he was your son, and what he's become now. And then you have people like Jim Strider and the Revolt. Wow, like that's definitely a good future you've built right there.
Well, you know what? That's the thing. I really take a lot of pride in them. I like Strider, the Revolt, Kyle Boone. Like they can be on a show, and I've seen students that have gone to another school in Ontario, and they've been at it twice as long as my guys. Maybe almost, on like my guys have been at it for about 2 years. These guys have been at it for about 4 or 5 years, and then they watch my guys in the monitor and they just shake their head. Like you could tell that they realize, like, why couldn't I have gone here? And I know that look because I've seen people experience it, and I've talked to people that have experienced it. Is like, why did I go to where I went and waste all this time when I could have just went here? And then I always have them ask, hey, are you open? Will you do drop-ins? Can we drop in? I'm like, of course. Like I'm not a jerk about like other schools and stuff like that. If you want to learn, I'm there to teach. That's kind of the philosophy I take. And like Strider's my guy, one of my guys, and the Revolt is a great tag. And I got a few more that are just about to get out there. Hopefully once we get back to working, there'll be a couple months, and they show great promise. So and I got more guys signing up all the time, so we'll see where they all head.
How's the construction going with the new setup?
I'm a slave driver. As we're in here doing these interviews, I've done a couple podcasts today, so it's taken a lot of my time. And my wife has been out there slaving away on flooring. She's been doing the flooring today, so I put her right to work. I said, "Get out there and do it. Get her done." It's been a great process. We've been working on this nonstop. It's hard because we have two boys. They're 8 months and 3 years old. So the juggle is one of us works, the other one comes in, takes care of the kids, and then we switch. I just ordered a whole bunch of equipment like squat rack and barbells and bumper plates and all this workout type equipment. I'm going to get a smaller, lower ring in there that's 16 by 16. It's going to look really, really sharp. I can't wait to unveil it when it's, and we're pretty close to being there. We're pretty close.
All right. Before we let you go, you got some quick time just for some name association?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So one word or sentence. I'm just going to give you a list of names here. First one on the list, Scott D'Amore.
Scott. What can I say about Scott? Super businessman. Like an intelligent businessman, old school, very old school.
All right. Somebody you previously mentioned, Terry Taylor.
The greatest of all time.
Next on the list, somebody that's considered one of the four horsemen of Ontario Indie, Cody Diener.
Cody, remarkable talent, unbelievable babyface. Should have more of a run than he's been given. He should be a top babyface in any company.
All right, name that we haven't mentioned on this show yet, Muay Thai Kid.
Oof, there's an old name. Yeah, you know what? I like more like chemotherapy kid is what they used to tease me with, because they gave me that name. It was so silly, and then they shaved my eyebrows and then took my hair. They shaved my head, and I was pasty white and of course malnourished, so I just look like a kid that's battling cancer. Awful, terrible.
We go from Muay Thai into Sean Spears.
Unbelievable talent. Like next level. Should be a billionaire. Should be an Austin style. Should have he's got charisma. He's got the greatest timing in the world. Should be. He's had a good run, but he should have had a better run than he's had.
So somebody who's young has got a lot of respect for you, Kevin Bennett.
Kevin Bennett, I think Kevin Bennett's the future. I think charisma-wise, work rate, all this stuff, I think things are starting to line up. Kevin is one of those guys, if he can get a little bit more mass on him, I think he's the future of pro wrestling in North America.
I'll go old school name here for you, Derek Wilde.
Oh, Derek Wilde, he might get a little bit of, there might be some people that say whatever about him, but he's still my best friend in the world. He's a great human being, and he has killed himself in his career. As he's retired now, but if you could go back and look at Derek Wilde matches, that man has murdered his body just for fans. If you pay $10, he would make sure that you got $2,000 worth of entertainment out of him, because he broke himself for this business, and I will always love him.
So go from old school to new school. Sebastian Swab, Brent Banks, and Tarek, otherwise known as the Pillars.
Those are my boys. Those are my three comrades as we travel together. They're all three guys that I could travel the road with. All three are very, very different. They all have super strengths. And they're just that's a group of guys. There's four guys in a car that I have no problem with. No matter where we go, what we do, the trip is always great. So you can never ask for a better band than that.
All right. Second last name on the list, Carter Mason.
Carter Mason is a great kid. He's one of these kids that should have a little bit more. I feel as though that in the social media driven society, I'm like a father figure where I'm always constantly yelling at him not to put stuff up online and doing stuff because he gets emotionally amped up. If he could get himself in check emotionally sometimes, the world could be his. He could have so much because he's great character and he works very, very well when he does want to work. Is fantastic. One of those kids that would be super ahead of the game, super ahead of the curve, and making some money if he could just get out of the way of his own head. You know what I'm saying?
His own worst enemy, you're calling him then?
Well, yeah, not even. Just because everything else is super on point. There's just something in his head that just holds him back or gives him a little bit of I don't know. It's all of us are kind of damaged when it comes to pro wrestling. It's weird. It's a weird sport.
All right. Final name on the list is Tyson Dukes.
Just an old man, just doing his thing. Too many kids and just way too much time on his hands nowadays to really drive himself a little bit crazy every day, right?
All right, Sean. Anything you want to add?
Well, with those names that Chris went through, Fantasy Warfare, Tyson Dukes is the referee. The other four horsemen versus the Pillars. Old school versus new school or current. Who takes it?
Oh, without a doubt. It comes down. Is it a Survivor Series style? Because if it is, it comes down to me and Arn. And then we'll just call it a draw. Because there's nobody on this planet that Tully and Arn are still my guys. And I still when I go to AEW or I talk every once in a while, I'll go to shows and I'll see Arn there. Arn is still my boy. I love that guy to death. And you cannot beat that work rate. Just that we're a little bit younger, and you know what I mean. We're a little bit younger, and Ric Flair, I like Tarek chops way harder than Ric Flair. That's just the way it goes.
That would be quite the matchup. The Four Horsemen versus Pillars for sure.
All right, Tyson, what's the best way to fans get in touch with you online as well as find out more information about the Wrestling Factory?
I'm easy peasy, man. Everything is all linked the same thing. If you just message me on either Twitter or Instagram, you'll find everything because I have it all linked together because I'm a caveman and I'm not a tech guy. I'm not. I'm terrible at computers. I'm terrible at phones. So I just linked it all, so it's super easy. And you message me, I'll just point you in the right direction, and it's all under Tyson Dukes. Dux is the last name, and that's it, at Tyson Dukes.
Yeah, and guys, if you go on Twitter and hashtag Dukes Factory, you'll find a lot of information there as well. Tyson, it's been an honor having you on the show. Hope you're staying safe. Health to you and your family. And again, it's thank you very much for doing the episode with us.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, can't wait to see you at the show again.
Yeah, me too. Oof.
All right, have a good night,
Take
Tyson.
care, guys.
All right, see ya. So a very good episode with Tyson. He's very gifted as far as being a wrestling fan himself goes, but because he's been in the business, like he said, for 23 years, he's able to pass on that knowledge to his kids and the younger guys in the business. Interesting comment about Carter Mason, who we've had on the show, and he's one of the most gifted guys that we've seen Smash Wrestling based. Huge fan for me, as I've said before, Tarek as well as Kevin Bennett, but Carter Mason has grown on me. So it's never thought I would have said that, but he is good. Some of the comments that came in as we're doing the show: Jones, you never retire if you still teach some wise old man. John Siegfried can't wait to see the new place with regards to the Tyson Dukes Wrestling Factory. And also follow-up comment says, and he's down to earth. Yeah, Tyson, like I said, I've been a fan of his for quite a while. The association affiliation that he used to have with Border City Wrestling, and still does, to my knowledge, was always cool to see back in the day. And then Blood, Sweat, and Tears, like I had said. So, I'm going to try, and Sean, this is maybe up your avenue, but this Blood, Sweat, and Tears DVD, 2006 is the date on it. If anybody watching the show, or I always post shows on the Scumbags of Wrestling, everything else. Any of the scumbags out there, if you know how to take that, and I can put it on the computer, no problem at all, on the laptop. But if you can find a way for me to be able to stream matches on Facebook, I wouldn't mind doing that. I mean, obviously, I talked to the guys that used to be in charge of it just to make sure I'm not, blacklisted, or my YouTube account gets suspended, or whatever the case may be. But I know scumbags wise, you guys have had watch parties and stuff like that, eh?
Yeah, Alex Acosta used to run those. I'm not sure how he ended up doing it, and I haven't seen Facebook allowing that anymore. But somebody you might be able to check in with is James. I think he might have a way of converting that for you.
Oh, Chops, you mean?
No.
Oh.
James from Scumbags. Balsowski, I believe.
Okay, I'll have to.
Yeah,
I'll look into it.
I'll send you his info. But yeah, he's attached with like Odyssey Records and Vegas, Shock Stock and stuff like that. So friends with Jake.
He's not the one that's New Japan fan, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, who was it?
They went over to New Japan.
He got into an argument at a Smash show with one of the wrestlers because all of a sudden there's this Hot Topic conversation. That was Gaines, I think. Do you remember that?
Greed and
was that? Oh, yeah. It was Greed. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I will not, like, I'm not going to throw the whole DVD, but I think it'd be cool just to do like a match, right? Because when you think about this DVD itself, like there are some cool matches, but TNT and the Blackouts versus the Suicide Kids and Twisted Steel. Followed up after that, you've got Frankie the Mobster versus Sean Spears. You know what I mean? Vanessa Craven's on this one as well. Like I said, back in the day, I used to be a huge Blood, Sweat, and Tears fan, but get in touch with Dave Blizzard as well as Tom just to make sure there's no red tape as far as that goes. But then maybe I'll just do a weekly match or something like that, just as far as Ontario independent wrestling, how that went about 13 years ago. Two more comments before we sign off the show here. Joan says Duker, so apparently Nathan knows how to do it, as well as Bilo, and that would be James, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so there we go. All right, so anyways, we will be back in a couple of days. It's funny how we go, one show in 3 weeks, and all of a sudden now we're doing kind of two shows within a matter of days. Easter Sunday at that. But it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to actually doing something other than,
We can't go anywhere Easter Sunday, so
well, yeah.
why not sit back and enjoy some podcasting and talking about wrestling?
Yeah, so I was talking to Sean off air a couple days ago, and with regards to setting this whole thing up, and like I said, the graphics are going to change, and then the logos will change, everything else, and I've got a good setup going on as far as the show itself goes. But it'll be different not being the host. It's been a while, so but in saying that, it'll be enjoyable. Because one of the things I asked Sean, I said, how long are we going to go? He goes, I don't know. So we could go for 6-7 hours. I don't know, timeline wise,
We might be pushing it a bit. My wife works till about 4:30.
Oh, okay. So there is a cutoff time then. And I'm pretty sure my wife is making Easter dinner on Sunday. So there'll be a cutoff time for me as well. And pretty much as I'm doing the show, I will be smelling everything that's going on in the kitchen. So it's going to be tough. But I think, like Sean had said, with regards to Scumbags 100, and I'll put that graphic up again, just, if people want to interact on Twitter or Facebook or whatever the case may be, hashtag Scumbags 100. Cool thing is, like I said, I'm not hosting, which is great. But the fact is Sean's going to have some regular people on as well as rotating guests. So best way to get in touch with you is obviously through the Facebook group, eh?
Yeah, Facebook group, and also email me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com.
Scumbagsarewrestling@gmail.com.
Scumbagswrestling@gmail.com.
All right, and then
our Facebook page, which you have scrolling across there.
Yep.
I'm sort of in the same realm as Tyson, not being able to balance all the different apps and stuff like that. Yes, we do have Twitter and Instagram, but I'm really weak on that side of things.
Yeah, Sean made an attempt at one point to get the website, which used to be scumbags.ca. I don't know if it still is it?
Still is, and I'm actually looking to refresh it this weekend.
Yeah, and he was doing some cool stuff, and then next thing you know, it just went. I mean, it's the cool thing is, and I'll tell you this personal story, but the fact is, 2 years ago when we were doing the Scumbags, you got me saying Scumbags, the Sharpshooter podcast, I was, again, new to it because I hadn't done it in so long, but it's the technology to change and everything else, right? And then next thing you know, you get used to it. And it wasn't without headaches sometimes. We'd have like 5-6 people on the show, and the audio channels would be up and down, and I'd be like, and there'd be too much space, and I was too much of a perfectionist. But then you learn how to do it, and the next thing you know, away you go. Well, never did I think Sharpshooter podcast was going to end, but it did. Sean wanted to do his, continuously. He wanted to be like, hey, I still want to do this. And, and we had talked about doing the Scumbags podcast anyways, as kind of like a tie-in show almost. And then all of a sudden, Sharpshooter, I said, Sharpshooter Scumbags, too many S's. Sharpshooter podcast, long story short, I said, see you later to it. And that was it. And I think maybe 1 or 2 episodes I tried to do on my own just to get back into it. And I was like, I just can't do this. It's just, it's run its course. And Sean had continued. And now next thing you know, it's like right here on the screen, hashtag Scumbags 100, it's pretty cool actually. And Sean's gotten a lot better at what he does. And you know what? The funny thing is I can't do that video stuff that you do when you're doing the Ontario Indie Road Trip and some of the graphics, and even that the intro video, which I think you posted officially, but you'll see like even TNT, once this goes off the air, that's it for tonight. That's it for the weekend. We come back on Sunday. It's all Scumbags. So Sean had created this intro, and it was 58 seconds, which was great. But the fact is we go through StreamYard, and the fact is with StreamYard, you're 30 seconds. And it was like, oh, fuck, so put Sean back to the editing board. But I added like a filter, just a fade in effect on both sides, and clipped it by, I think, a second. And it still looks and sounds great. You know what I mean? And our guest tonight, Tyson, is actually in that video as well. So it's kind of cool. But the one thing you got me thinking, and, the fans of the show, episode 13, and the other shows that we've done, it's been great. But when I do that lead video for that 30 seconds, it's like, okay, you're looking at the logo for a good 30 seconds. You recognize the theme music, whatever. But the way Sean got me thinking is the fact is I have been to enough shows. I can take my own little photo streamline and we've been to enough shows together to be able to say, hey, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. You know what I mean? And you were looking for pictures, stuff I forgot about, like Tessa Blanchard, getting to meet her. You had one shot, I think, was with Oh, the dude with the looks like who the bigger guy with the beard.
Walter?
Nope. I know who Walter is. Impact, was it Impact Wrestling? He was doing the we saw him at the tapings, the Windsor tapings. He looks like Outback Jack with the whole big, or Indiana Jones.
Oh,
You know what?
yeah.
Stone Rockwell.
Stone Rockwell.
Stone Rockwell. Well, sure enough, I'm sitting there looking at this picture. It's like, what the is that fucking Shotzi Blackheart behind you guys doing a
photobombed?
Yeah, a photobomb. So, anyways,
I ran out of space and timing. I would have had a picture with Shotzi too.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff.
Video.
Yeah, a lot of stuff like that, has happened. For both of us as far as getting to meeting people and stuff like that. One of the cool moments was being there. Like Tessa's Blanchard was one thing, but seeing Tarek win his first championship and getting the pictures with him afterwards, you know what I mean? Or Kevin Bennett, seeing him at that show in London after the accident had taken place and this and that. But anyways, it got me thinking. I'm going to go through the old CDs and go see who I've got shots with. I don't think I have any shots with Tyson back in the day. I know I got one of Scott D'Amore, a little younger version of me, but I was still pretty heavy set back then. So I will post it though. But anyways, yeah, you will see a new intro for the I almost said Sharpshooter podcast for TNT happen soon. But
I can create that.
And Sean can actually create that. Yes. So hour and 16 minutes. I think it's the longest show we've done to date. Definitely worth it. I think we went. What's that?
Close. I think we have gone a little bit longer, but that's all good.
But my voice is starting to wear out. I am starting to get tired, but it's been good to be back. Again, if you're watching us, thank you very much for watching. If you're listening, thank you very much for listening. We are on iHeartRadio now too as well. So we're pretty much all over the place as far as getting to listen on whatever platform you want to listen to. And as far as guests go and stuff like that, email us, find us on social media. tnthrowdown.ca is our official website. You'll see the episodes posted on there. But hit us up and find out exactly who you want to see on the show. And, if you want to be part of the show as far as, just doing a Jonesy thing with us, feel free. Yeah, I remember taking that Stone Rockwell picture, Daniel says. So I guess Daniel was with you during that, eh?
That was at a border town. I mean, not border town. That was Destiny in Sarnia.
Destiny at Sarnia. Yeah. Anyways, it's too much wrestling talk. I'm starting to get kind of down and out because of the fact is we can't attend shows right now. But it's I guarantee this is going to be a lot of sellouts when this stuff's finally over with, and not just the sports world, but indie wrestling, everything else as well. But my voice is, like I said, running out. We've got another show to do this coming Sunday, 1 o'clock. And we will have, like I said, the official intro, but you'll see Sean on the other side of things. I will just do all the, this kind of graphical stuff and this and that. So anyways, Sean, thanks for being part of the show. Tyson Dukes, thank you very much for being part of the show as well. It was tough for me as a wrestling fan and as the host of the show to be like, oh, Tyson, hey, thanks for saying yes, but now we got to push it a day. Oh, now we're pushing it a week. Now we're pushing another week. And I was like, oh, shit, this guy's going to hate me before we even talk to him, But, I am on the mend, which is great. Tyson, one of the most, gifted guys out there. And, if he gives you any advice, definitely take it as a wrestling fan or up-and-coming wrestler. But yeah, thank you very much, Tyson, for doing the show. And can't wait to see him in a wrestling ring again. Sean, anything you want to follow up with before we say goodbye?
No, we're all good. Just hit me up for if you want to be a part of Sunday.
Yes. So officially facebook.com/groups/scumbags of wrestling, #scumbags100. You will see TNT posting that social media hashtag on there, so you can get in touch with us that way as well. But should be a good show on Sunday. And I get to take a break from not talking so much. But anyways, Sean, thanks for being part of the show as always. I got to figure out how to close this down. And I think I am good. But anyways, guys, we will see you and talk to everybody next week. And again, Sunday, 1 p.m., Scumbags of Wrestling takes over this channel here. So good night, guys, and thank you very much.